You're listening to the Mile High Church podcast. Welcome, and thanks so much for tuning in. We've got some wonderful things happening here at the start of the new year that we hope you will consider, including all of our upcoming classes. You can find out more about those at our website, including our basics class, Beyond Limits. And speaking of basics, our Sundays in January will be Back to Basics, a series where Reverend Josh will be teaching you and inspiring you into the basic ideas of science of mind.
Doing this Back to Basics series with you. Our theme has been this thing called you, based upon the great book of Ernest Holmes. And in giving the final talk, I thought it might be nice to actually explore this idea of what is this thing called you? Who am I? Who are you? What is self? And the answer is that it's complicated. I, Josh, am a product of nature and nurture. I'm certainly the product of Mike and Lori, my parents, my brother and my sisters, my grandparents to a large degree. I'm a child of the 80s, so I'm a product of shopping malls, of Madonna and Rod Stewart songs. I'm a product of Captain Crunch, Sugar Smacks, Apple Jacks, Pop-Tarts, for better or for worse. I got my morality through 30-minute sitcoms. The Facts of Life, Different Strokes, Mr. Belvedere, Good Times, Give Me a Break. The list goes on. Sigmund Freud coined this term, the ego. And what he meant by ego is just your I. Your ego is simply who you think you are. It's not a bad thing, but it gets you into trouble when you think that who you think you are is all there is. If you think that, you've got another thing coming. But it's just who you think you are. Freud also told us this idea of the superego, which is the directing voice in your consciousness. For many of us, it's not our own voice. It's the voice of a parent or an authority figure. As we grow older, it might be the cruel voice of an ex-partner or the voice of the world that we hear. So much of our work in Science of Mind is to work towards having our superego be a voice of divine guidance, something that supports us and knows the truth of who we are. Freud also gave us this idea of the unconscious, that each of us has this subjective shadow aspect of ourselves that we are totally unaware of, yet influences us in all sorts of different ways through this little thing called neuroses. Decades before Freud was talking about the unconscious, New Thought pioneers in New England were experimenting with the idea that you could make suggestions of spiritual truths to individuals, and if those were believed, they could result in physical, psychological, and emotional healing. Ernest Holmes would expand on Freud's idea of the unconscious to say that we actually live in a universal mind, an oversoul, that our unconscious doesn't just contain our own individual thoughts and experiences, but at some level, the thoughts of the entire race. Kind of creepy when you think about it. We would call that today generational trauma. There's good stuff in there too. A protege of Sigmund Freud, Carl Jung, termed this the collective unconscious. Yet for Holmes, in the midst of this collective unconsciousness is this one mind, and our divinity is there too. That the truth of who we are and our grandness and our purpose of life is also included in this universal mind. Now, for all of these aspects of the self that I've shared with you this morning, I have yet to share with you the one that is most important. And it is what I'm calling today the spirit in you. The spirit in you. Ernest Holmes, in this thing called you, shares, I know that I am one with God. I know that God in me is perfect. I know that my real nature is spiritual. I know that I exist in a boundless good, in a heavenly state, and in perfect being. I know that my mind is being acted upon by pure spirit. Divine intelligence guides me into peace, happiness, and success, into joy, love, and perfect life. The Spirit within me is perfect. The Spirit within me is boundless in its ability to accomplish. The Spirit within me is divine love. The Spirit within me can harmonize any sense of chaos or disorder. Do you believe that you have that Spirit in you? I believe you do. I believe that you have a Spirit in you that is perfect. I believe you have a Spirit in you that is boundless in its ability to accomplish. I believe that you have a Spirit in you that can be a harmonizing presence and force in the midst of whatever may be the disorder. That's how powerful you are. That's how magnificent the Spirit in you is. And our work in this spiritual living business is to learn to trust in this Spirit, to nurture this Spirit. Do I have an ego? Yeah. Do I have an unconscious? Yeah. Do I have a super ego that's kind of a jerk sometimes? Yeah. Am I a part of this seeming mess of mind that's going on in the world? Heck yeah, I wish I could take a break from it sometimes. But the fundamental part of me is this Spirit. And that is the goal of spiritual living, is to treat that Spirit, to make it the center of our lives and let the rest take care of itself. We can cultivate our relationship with the Spirit in our lives. It speaks to us in grand ways and in the tiniest of things. Sometimes people ask me, Josh, how do you come up with those brilliant, inspiring, life-transforming talks? No, they say, how do you write those sermons, homilies, talks? What do you call them? And one of the things I share is that I make a date with inspiration. It's one of my favorite things to do, is to set a time where I know I'm going to connect with the Spirit within me and get to hopefully create something that reflects back to you your own wisdom. And it never fails to create this experience of feeling like the Spirit is working through me to write a message that usually I need just as much as anybody else here to deliver. How wonderful. Sir Anthony Hopkins, the great actor, has a new memoir, and he shares the powerful story of being an alcoholic, being under the influence and driving one night, and hearing a voice say to him, do you want to live or do you want to die? And Hopkins answered the voice. He said, I want to live. Very well then, go on and live now, the voice said. And Hopkins shared that he never had a craving to drink again. Now, I don't know what he had to do to stay sober every day after that, but the Spirit is grand in its ability to speak to us, especially when we're listening, but it has this tendency to grab us out of the deepest pain and agony as well. Dixie Willis is a congregant here at Mile High Church. He's right here in the front row. Good morning, Dixie. And Dixie shares the experience of being a young woman and in such pain that she began going about the plan of ending her life in the most violent possible way. And in the midst of her emotional agony and pain, she blacked out. And when she awoke, she found that there was a Bible on her bed, and it was turned to a page that said, you are in this world, not of it. And Dixie shares, and now she shares in this beautiful book that she's just released called You Are in This World, Not of It, how that phrase, that message from Spirit has been the guiding principle in her life. And she shares it in this memoir that's available at our bookstore and on Amazon. All the ways it shows up. She puts it in a lighter way. She calls it a soul tap. How many of us have ever experienced a soul tap? She defines it as such. She says, a soul tap is when you have an inexplicable sense of knowing without being able to understand why. Some people may perceive this as their intuition, a subtle internal voice, or a gut feeling. In many cases, if you pay attention to these soul taps instead of ignoring them, you will receive guidance and clarity where you may not have known you needed it. Dixie shares the story of just being a teenager and visiting Colorado for the first time in Steamboat Springs at a theater camp and getting that soul tap that one day she would live here in Colorado. Dixie, we're so glad you're here in Colorado. The work of our spiritual lives is to nurture this essential aspect of ourselves, our spirit, as the most essential part of who we are. I'm not saying your spirit is all that you are. I'll speak for myself, but I will affirm and know that the spirit within me is perfect and I am still this mess of a man. The spirit within me is an absolute love, and yet I still struggle with that part of myself that doesn't know if he can fully receive love or if he is love able. The spirit within me is absolute clarity, and yet sometimes the only thing I'm clear about is how confused I am. We have all these different aspects of ourselves, but the goal is, how do we make the spirit the essential part of who we are, and how do we make sure it is the driving force in our lives? My ask of you at the beginning of this service, this series, this Back to Basics, and my charge to you for the entire year is to give 1 hour a day to your spirit. Just give 1 hour a day to the spirit, and life will take care of everything else for you. That is my article of faith. That's what I believe in for me and for you. You don't even have to take the whole hour at one time. You can meditate for 10 minutes in the morning, pray for another 10 minutes, listen to a song that honors your spirit in the car, connect with a friend where you see the spirit in one another, practice a little forgiveness at night when you put your head down at the end of the night. Just simply give thanks for the soul taps that showed up in your life that day. If you can just give this hour a day to your spirit, it will begin to become the harmonizing and creative power in your life. Holmes tells us, you are already a spiritual being. When the mind understands this and embodies its essence, that which you are in the invisible will become more apparent in the visible. Joel Goldsmith, a spiritual teacher and contemporary of Holmes, put it this way: always we turn our thought to God as the invisible source, and then watch how in a few days or weeks things begin to take place in our life that never happened before. Let me put this in a different way. Those problems that you have, those problems that I have, I don't have to go running in trying to fix them and solve them. I no longer have to be possessed by my problems. I can possess them, but I can simply go to God. I can simply take that hour to remember spirit as the essential creative and harmonizing power in my life. My ego might think it knows what needs to happen, but I have found that there's something greater in me that knows the answer to what really should happen. We can get out of its way and allow it to do powerful, healing, and inspiring things in our life. Another way that we can do this, make this time for spirit every day, is to work with our ego, to ponder some greater ideas for our everyday living. And so I have 3 to share with you today, and I'm calling them Live Like That's. Some of you may already live like that with some of these ideas. Good for you. But I'm guessing we can all do it a little bit better. And the first is to live like that in the way that you live like that there's something within you that always knows. Live your life like there is something in you that always knows. I know it sounds like a contradiction. My ego knows it doesn't know, but my ego can also know something within me does know. I don't know the answer. Something in me does know the answer. I don't know what to do. Something within me knows exactly what to do. And if I can learn to listen to that part of myself, to build a trusting and healthy relationship with this part of myself, I may not know what to do until I come right into the moment. But spirit demonstrates itself with the right answer, with the right composure, with the right revelation of how to be, and the rest takes care of itself. In this thing called you, Holmes gives us the opportunity to do a little spiritual experimenting. He affirms, I know that I am drawing my good to me. There is a silent power of attraction within me which is irresistible. Now, he shares, mention to yourself something which you would wish to bring into your experience. Think it over for a moment so that you have a clear idea of it. Let's take that moment. Say, I know that everything in my experience is working together to bring this about. I am filled with calm confidence, with expectancy of good. I know that this particular thing is transpiring in the invisible at this very moment, and that it will become part of my visible experience. Everything within me accepts this. Again, we may articulate what we want from that ego, what we think should be and who we think we are level, but we're also nurturing this spirit that knows. Can you imagine the difference in your life from being in a consistent place of frustration, confusion, and not knowing to living in trust, to giving in to flow, to not forcing but allowing the good of this spirit to take place in your life? Live like something in you knows. Second, live like you are an immortal being now. Live like you are an immortal being now. Now, if you grew up on horror and science fiction, you might stop like me and say, I don't mean like be like a vampire who's 450. I don't mean be a Highlander. Part of embracing and understanding that you are an immortal being now means accepting and embracing that you will die. That this body of yours will at some point no longer be able to contain the magnificent spirit of who you are, and it will decay and it will go away. However, living like you're an immortal being now means that your relationships are forever, like it or not. Living like an immortal being now means that you are a progressive principle, that the evolution of your soul is better and better, more and more, that the purpose of all life is to realize greater liberty, greater justice, greater freedom, greater unity, greater prosperity and well-being. That's the truth of all of us. That's why we're here ad infinitum. Embracing that you're an immortal being now means that there's no escape from your stuff. That your consciousness will always be yours. That it's up to you to expand it, to deepen it, to increase its quality, to bless yourself and others. All this year, I'm going to be celebrating the life of Carol Buxton. Carol Buxton, an incredibly essential practitioner to the formation of Mile High Church and its well-being. She passed away Sunday night, and she was my practitioner here at Mile High Church. No one gave me more support in the last 5 years of my life than Carol Buxton, an incredible woman. And I could talk about her for an hour, but I just want to share with you a little bit about my last conversation with her. No one was also more ready to release her mortal coil than Carol as well. That's why I say I'm celebrating her life. We're sitting there, and I saw her after that, but this is her last time that she could talk. And she, first thing that she taught me is to always keep a sense of humor. She said, Josh, do you know what my biggest regret in life is? What, Carol? Not harassing you more. I asked Carol, is there something I can keep in prayer for you that we can ask our practitioners to keep in prayer for you? And she shared, can you please pray that I remain kind? This can be a very frustrating experience, working with doctors and nurses and families that are all trying to do their best they can, but sometimes I get frustrated. That's all the prayer that she wanted, was to remain kind. The second thing that she taught me was how to live like an immortal being today. I said, Carol, can we send visitors every day to come and see you? And she says, if someone needs to come see me, for them, they can come see me. But I prefer to be alone because this is such an important time in my life. This is such an important time of my life, which is a perfect parallelism if you knew her, because no one was more dedicated to their personal growth, to their understanding and growing of love. And in watching her death, she taught me so much about how to live. And I know more than anything that she is a part of that incredible beloved that sewed her into being, that I know she's a part of now. And for all of us here who love her and know her, we can always feel that laughter, and we can accept her now as a guiding principle in our lives in so many incredible ways. Living like you're an immortal being now doesn't mean that you're going to live forever, but it means this essential part of you is indestructible. And it will carry you through any seeming obstacle. Lastly, and this is a point I make here at Mile High quite often, but it's to live like you are beloved. Live your life like you're loved. I've learned all I need to from living like not love, right? I can't step into the true love story of my life unless I am willing to let go of the not love stories that keep me stuck. To live like you are loved is to know that you have an inexhaustible source of love, spirit, guidance within you that is ever giving of itself to you. And if you are open to it, it will provide to you everywhere around your life. Many of you who know me as well, you know that there's an essential line of Ernest Holmes in this thing called you, which has been the spiritual principle that's guided my life. And it's this: dare to lose your small affection. He says, dare to lose your small affection and find it multiplied 1,000,000 times through greater union. And my whole spiritual and personal life has been a call that says, Josh, think you've loved enough? Guess again. Guess again. Early on in my life, I wanted to be a writer. And God said, you need to be a minister. There's people involved there. Go and love them and find who you are. Becoming a minister, I thought that's fulfilling relationships enough. I don't want to do the whole personal family thing. My friend April came back into my life with her beautiful son, and we created a family together. Think you've loved enough, Josh? Think again. Senior minister in Seal Beach, California for 7 years. Couldn't be happier. Church is finally dialed in. Great place to be. Some guy named Roger Teal calls me. Think you've loved enough? Think again. Moving to Colorado, I finally get this home office. It's been on my vision board for years. Guess what, honey? I'm having a baby. Oh, think you've loved enough? Oh, wow. I'll tell you. Think again. Dare to lose your small affection. In the last 1.5 years in my life, I have learned to love more through loss, through devastating loss. You know what I'm talking about? For me, losing a parent, walking through a divorce, the ego struggles because the ego can't stop these things from happening as hard as we try. And you think in this loss that it means I'm going to love less. Love even more. Think you've loved enough? Think again. You get to love your dad even more. You get to love your family even more. Dare to lose your small affection and find it multiplied 1,000,000 times through greater union. Where in your life, right now, are you called to love even more? Which means to show up with greater transparency, greater openness, greater willingness to fluidity and change. The love takes care of itself. I'm going to invite Kelly Berry, our new pastoral care director, to say our affirmative prayer today. But one more quote from Holmes as we close. I believe in myself because I believe in God. I accept life fully, completely, without reservation, holding to the conviction that good is the eternal reality, that God is the everlasting presence, that Christ within me is the eternal guide, that my life is complete today.
I invite all practitioners to please stand. how good it is to be in this place at this time, in this sacred energy that we feel in every vibration in our body, in the beating of our heart, in the breath that goes in and out, that we have experienced on every musical note, every word that has been shared, every person we sit next to, every smile we have exchanged, that we trust to know that that is God. We feel it, we know it, we trust, we allow it to be. It is in perfect harmony, in balance, in guidance and clarity. And just as I know this for myself, I know this for each and every individual. That we are always, always connected to our infinite source, divine wisdom, that love intelligence that has its very breath within us. And that in this beautiful container of love, that we do not let go of what is going on in the world, the violence, the chaos, the unrest. All of that is the truth of what is going on in this material world. But there is this place that we know that we can see, affirm, stand in the truth of this light, this balance, this harmony. And as we leave the sanctuary, as we step out into that light, we bring it with us. We carry it forth. This teaching, these words that were shared today, the hugs that we've received, the handshakes, that we know in this moment that we are held in God's arms. And it is with great gratitude that I express and share this truth. And it is from there that I release this prayer into that alchemy of love where law leads the way. And together we say, and so it is.
Thanks for listening to the Mile High Church podcast. This podcast is made possible by the generous contributions from listeners like you. To make a donation, please visit milehighchurch.org.